Hello and welcome to the Blood Coast Consortium Battle Reports. This one we're going to be covering some of the narrative battles from End Times Nagash. This is the Battle of La Maison-Tal. So specific scenario rules: Vampire Counts must take Krell, Lord of Undeath, and he's a general. And then for the Bretonnians, all the peasant bowmen must have braziers, and also you must take one prophetess of the lady and two damsels, and these are the three sisters of Asilio. I hope I said that right. So the attacker wins immediately if at the end of any Bretonnian turn the undead general Krell is within 12 inches of the center point of the defender's table edge. Basically the building. You'll see the building there in the middle for the Bretonnians. So kind of go over some of the lists and what we've got right now for Vampire Counts. He has on his far right flank, we've got 6 Black Knights. He's got a big, huge block of zombies. He just moved his Grave Guard. He's got Grave Guard there with Krell. Also, he just moved the Mortis Engine. He's got a Corpse Cart back there, level 4 of Undeath on the Corpse Cart. And he's got also Vargulf that he's moving now. So that's what that model is. On the far left flank, he's got 3 Vargeists. He's got a Karn Wraith. He's also got some Cryptors over there, along with some ghouls as well. Excuse me. So on the left flank for the Bretonnians, we've got 3 Pegasus Knights. We've got some Knights of the Realm, a big block of Halberdiers, a hoarded block of Halberdiers, and then Knight Errants on the right flank with some Peasant Bowmen in each of the buildings. And he has to take those, the Prophetess and the 2 Damsels. He's also got his Paladin BSB. He's got his Heroic Killing Blow Lord in his center block of Knights of the Realm as well. So some other things about this specific scenario. There's a roll-off at the beginning of each turn, right? And the attacker adds 4 to his roll. And for the defender, if all 3 of the sisters are within 3 inches of each other, then the defender adds 3 to his roll. If only 2 are within 3 inches, he adds 2 to his roll. If none are within 3 inches, but he has at least 1 sister alive, he adds +1 to his roll. Alright, and what this roll does, if the attacker wins, then all units in the attacker's army gain D6 wounds distributed as resurrecting fallen warriors. And you would have seen him kind of add some to the back of those zombies there on his turn as well, and that's what that's from. If the defender wins the roll-off, and luckily he didn't win any of these, the 3 sisters are still alive. They are subjected to magical onslaught for having the temerity to oppose, I don't even know if that's the right word, but anyway, the will of Archon and Kimmler, which, if you've read through the book, are involved in this battle but aren't involved in the scenario because they're kind of back in the back spellcasting and sniping sisters. Then the attacker places a small round template anywhere on the battlefield. Each sister under the template suffers D3 wounds with no saves of any kind, and that's basically Kimmler sitting in the back sniping them, right? That's what that's supposed to represent. Really huge thing you have seen here, the 2 Knights block charging into the Grave Guard, which is where Krell is, and this needed to be a good magic phase for the Bretonnians, and they needed to punch through that block of Grave Guard. That was really the only thing they had that would be able to handle this. And you'll see kind of here when we get into combat phase kind of how that happens. And I might have already missed it, but we did indeed snipe the Corpse Cart pretty early with the Trebuchet from the Bretonnian side, which hurts early on, but you'll kind of see here when we move to combat kind of what happens. The piece we were rolling there for as well was dealing with the haunted side of things. So in the scenarios, you've got specific rules around the haunted terrain. And this one specifically was for Haunted Mansion. At the end of the shooting phase, all units within 6 inches of the Haunted Mansion suffer D6 Strength 1 hits. Basically, you got some ghosts flying around poking you. So that's what we were rolling there for. So now we've moved into the combat, and here I'm rolling for these sweet Pegasus Knights who have been charged. They whiff like chumps. They make all their saves, and then I make the stubborn roll there to stay alive and hold down that flank. So we're handling here. This is the middle battle between, like I said, one of the most important. And what you'll see is the Bretonnians take a big whiff and do some crumbling, but really don't punch through, and is going to hurt them here moving to the next turn. So out on the right flank, you'll see that the errant knights kind of held down that combat and was able to sustain. They sustained some casualties, but what I'm doing now is reforming these guys to make the charge from those Cryptors to be a little bit longer, even though it would be in the flank. Ultimately, we've also got those Vargeists out there on the far flank that they're closer and a bigger threat, so I kind of face towards them. And I think the Cryptors charge ends up being 16 or 17, so a pretty big charge, worth the risk, and make that maneuver. So now, right, we've got the Halberdiers combat that's over. They've kind of held it down with the ghouls that also have a vampire in there, and then we've got the big deep units of Halberdiers versus skeletons, what they're rolling on now. They'll take some casualties, but with these guys being stubborn and all these ranks and steadfast, neither one of these guys are going anywhere, so not much for that combat. And then we're about to move to the big one and the important one between the Graveguard and the two knights for the Bretonnian side. Okay, so I skip forward here a little bit, and you'll see kind of that basically the undead crumbled, but it wasn't enough for the Bretonnians to push through, so we moved over to the top of the Vampire Count's turn, and what you'll see here is obviously we're going to get the zombies charging into the flank of these knights. We're going to also see some charges that are going to try to happen there on the right flank as well, with the Crypt Horrors. I always screw that up, which one's which, but Crypt Horrors and then the Vargeists as well, attempting to kind of move through the backfill. There, you can't see it, but there's actually a trebuchet on the right flank behind that tower building over there. So they're going through here. This is actually the roll-off piece that he just finished up, that is to grow back models, and so he's measuring his charges now for that Vargeist into that trebuchet. That's what that was. Makes the charge, and obviously, like I mentioned before. Now, one thing you'll note, I mentioned that I kind of did that reform to make it a longer charge, but that was a bob roll, if you will, and made it. So big long charge. Those get into the side of those knight errants. And we've got the zombies into the side. So at this point, you can kind of tell that it's going the other way for the Bretonnians, and the thing that really keeps them, again, as you'll see when we go through the combat phases, is that stubborn rule, to where they are stubborn in this battle. So into the combat phase, first one we do is with the Knight Errants versus the Cryptors, and able to do a wound, but I'm going to make the stubborn roll because of that cheeky scenario rules, and they're going to lock in. Now, I do attempt to try and do a reform, but I fail, so still on the flank. Now we're doing the combat here for the Pegasus Knights, who whiff again, but finally the Black Knights make us fail. We flee, and they are caught. So we'll move in to do now. He's rolling for the Treb and the Vargeist, and as you can see, take it off. So the only hope now for these Bretonnians at this point is if we're able to basically chop someone's head off, which is, if you've read the Nagash book, right, that's you're not dead unless your head's chopped off. So heroic killing blow lord, let's hope that he's able to chop some heads versus Krell here in a minute, and that's the combat we've moved to now between these guys. So we're finishing up the combat here. I skip forward just a little bit because we take a break there for a second. But between the Knights and the Graveguard, lost a few more Graveguard, lost more Knights, right, without them being able to have that charge bonus, not really able to punch through these guys. Now we moved over to the Halberd units. This is also another one that's a bunch of dice rolls for these two big Horded units. Now ghouls and a vampire here are able to take off some more wounds from the Halberdiers, but again, Bretonnians are stubborn in the scenario. They are stubborn, but we do have to take the leadership test, and we fail it. Those guys will flee and are pursued, but are not pursued off the board. We're going to roll a couple here for the skeleton unit and resolve that combat. Not much happens when you've got crazy steadfast on both units. So what will happen now is we move to the top of the turn, and I'll rally, try to rally. I don't. I flee, but then again I forget about this. We had put the curse on the ghouls unit, which makes them have to take dangerous terrain tests whenever they move. And that's what he's doing now. He's rolling those tests because we forgot to do it, and we're friendly gamers. So it takes those. It removes quite a bit of them. Above average. So now we're going to move into the magic phase here for the Bretonnians. Kind of a last-ditch effort to try and snipe and do some stuff to the Mortis engine, and see what we can do with that. So yeah, we casting the spell here to try and snipe that Mortis engine, and we were able here to do the final wound. And what that will cause, and you're about to see some crazy dice rolls here, is it will explode. And we're going to start rolling wounds across the board for everything, and quite a bit of guys are going to come off the table here. Now what I'm going to do here towards the end is I'm going to pop in and out with just some quick updates as kind of what's going on. There's not too much happening, but we kind of go through a long phase because it's a large game, so bear with us here. So right here, the big block of halberdiers, he does a quick reform to turn these guys into a horde formation, try to get some more attacks into those skeletons there. So again, Graveguard here doing some wounds to the Knights of the Realm, trying to make some saves, but it looks like he's going to take quite a few of these off, and it's going to, with that stubborn roll, they've been able to slow them down. But I think here, maybe in a half a turn, you're going to see that these Graveguard are going to push all the way through the Knight blocks to finish off. It's only inevitable here after they've done quite a bit of wounds. I think we've got 5 Knight models here left at this time in the turn. So after this combat's over here, we've got the Knights losing, doing their stubborn check. Now, one thing to note, in the magic phase he has, and you'll see the little spell card there, that was Doom and Darkness. Huge, right? So those guys fleed. Now, with the Graveguard still locked into combat, they're unable to pursue at this point, which we'll see if these guys can rally and turn around and kind of support somewhere at the top of their turn. Alright, so here we are moving into the top of the Brett's turn. One of the biggest rolls, right? Here we go with your general. Are we going to rally? He makes the roll, and it's a fail. He does some measuring to take them off, and they flee off the board. Big loss for these guys. That was one of their only chances to really try to take out Corel, excuse me. Okay, we've got the ghouls charging into the building. One other thing, if you just noticed, he charged in with his bats into the Knights, and that's something key to take note, right? These bats make you always strikes last, which means these guys are striking Sama, which gives the Graveguard a chance to kind of pop these guys with more attacks without popping themselves. So we'll see how that turns out. So we've got the combat here with the Graveguard into the Knight Errants, or excuse me, Knights of the Realm, and we're going to lose 2 models, and we've got just the Standard Bearer here left in that one combat, holding Krell in place. And there it is, right? The guy's dead. He's kind of reformed here to get ready to move across to take the win. We don't really have anything left. We've got that can really keep him from getting within 12 inches of that terrain feature. So as you're about to see here, he charges us with the Varghulf and then is able to move Krell up within 12 inches to take the scenario. So with that, guys, thanks again for watching. This was Blood Coast Consortium, and comment, subscribe, help us out. We want feedback. We want to make these better for you guys. And special thanks to Cameron, Tim, and Bob. That was a fun time.